Hello everyone, Back Photography here, back with another video, so thank you very much for joining me once again. Today we're looking at a 5-minute photography challenge where we chose a location and shot there for 5 minutes and 5 minutes only and saw what we came up with at the end of the photo shoot. Now before we get into the photo shoot, make sure to check out in the description a link to a free ebook on how you can take beautiful portraits at nighttime. So if you're looking at taking beautiful portraits at night or in low light, make sure to check out that ebook and I think you'll really find it very useful. So now let's have a look at this photo shoot. Now, we were shooting with a Sony A7R2 for our camera body and a Sigma 50mm f1.4 and Sigma 85mm f1.4 for our lenses. And there's going to be a link to the raw files from this photo shoot in the description as well for you to have a look at. So for this 5-minute photo shoot challenge, we went to a few different locations, but we decided on this one location right here because we got some really amazing backlight and the sun was nice and low in the sky and coming through all of the leaves of this tree. And lighting is always the most important thing to consider when you're shooting photography in general, but particularly natural light photography, because you don't have as much control over the lighting situation as you would if you were shooting with off-camera flash or something like that. So it's really important to work out what sort of lighting situation you're looking for in your shoot. And for this particular photo shoot, we decided to go with backlit natural light with a golden, warm sort of look because we were shooting late in the afternoon. So this tree was perfect for that because we have all of the leaves in the background and that kind of diffuses the light a little bit and makes it a little bit more soft and more pleasing on our model Laura here. So if you're thinking about trying this challenge for yourself, I'd highly recommend it. One thing that I would say as a tip for you to do is don't worry about spending too much time setting up one particular shot. Just try a whole bunch of different things because you only have 5 minutes to get the photos. So try your best just to get as many different types of photos you can in that one situation. So here with Laura, what we did is I got her to lean on the tree, I got her to sit down on the roots of the tree, we got her to stand away from the tree a little bit. We just tried a whole bunch of different things for this photo shoot. And some of the photos didn't turn out very well, and some of them did turn out quite well. So it's just one of those things where you only have 5 minutes, so you should try and take as many photos as possible. Don't worry about getting some bad photos, and just try a whole bunch of different things, and you'll probably get some really amazing photos out of the bunch. So in a second, we'll go through a few of the photos that I did from this photo shoot, but let me first explain my process and what exactly I'm trying to achieve in this photo shoot. Basically, I'm trying to illuminate Laura's hair with the backlight here, just so it looks nice and warm and sunny and beautiful during the day. We're trying to get lots of yellow light in this photo, so when I color correct this photo, it's going to look super warm and super summery, and that's pretty much everything for this photo shoot. We're going to be shooting at a really low aperture, so the background is nice and blurry, and we can have all the focus on our subject Laura here, and that's pretty much everything for what I was doing for this photo shoot. So now let's have a look at a few of the photos, and then we're going to go into one in particular, and we're going to dissect it a little bit, and then we're going to go into Photoshop and look at the editing process I did on this photo. So here's the photo that I've chosen to go into a little bit more detail in this photo shoot. It was shot at an aperture of f1.4, a shutter speed of 1/400th of a second, and an ISO of 100. And this one was shot on the 85mm lens. I really like this photo because of the way that the tree kind of frames the photo and puts Laura into the center of the image. I also really like that the background is super far away, so it's really nice and blurry, and you can really see the difference between the blurriness of the background and the sharpness of our subject Laura. And it's really good to have a super blurred out background for portraits because it brings the focus of the image to your subject Laura in this situation, and that means that there's not going to be as many distractions as there would be when you're using a higher aperture. Although I do still like that you can see some of the branches in focus at the top of the image. So this is why I like this photo, and I also really like the backlight and that you can see the light coming through Laura's hair and illuminating and framing her face. Now I don't think this photo is perfect. I don't think any of the photos I've showed you are perfect. There's quite a few little errors in them, but that's kind of the beauty of the 5-minute photo shoot challenge. You have to be quick on your feet and you have to take a lot of photos really quickly, and they're probably not going to be perfect. And it kind of gives you a different sense of how to do a photo shoot and keep you on your toes and makes you look a little bit closer and be a little bit more engaged in your photo shoot. So with this photo in particular, for example, it's not perfect because I've actually had to edit it to make it straight, which you'll see in the editing process a little bit later on. Also, Laura's top has fallen down just a little bit, so you can see the outline of her bra there as well, which is another mistake in this photo shoot. Another mistake might be that there is a little bit too much of the foreground at the bottom of the image, something that I could crop or something like that in the future, but something that should be fixed during composition when you're taking the photo. So let me know what you think of this photo in the comments. Let me know what of these photos is your favorite. And also, if you're going to do the 5-minute photography challenge for yourself, I'd love to see what you come up with. Send me a photo on Instagram and let me have a look at what you come up with. So now that we've had a look at this photo shoot and a few of the photos, we're going to hop into Photoshop and do the editing process on this photo that you see here. Make sure you go into the description and check out the raw files from this photo shoot if you would like to edit along with me. I'm going to be using Photoshop and Camera Raw for this, but Lightroom will also be applicable if you want to edit this in Lightroom as well. Okay, so here we are in Adobe Camera Raw, which is a plugin in Photoshop. If you shoot in RAW, this will come up automatically when you open a photo. So we're just going to add some clarity to the entire image and also make the image more yellow, because when you shoot into the sun, you're going to lose a lot of contrast, which is what the clarity is for, and then you're also going to get a more blue image because the yellowness from the light, the camera is going to try to compensate for that by making the whole image more blue. So I'm just adding some more yellow in here, and then we also increase the shadows and drop the blacks a little bit, just so we get a nice punchy image with really nice highlights and nice dark shadows. Okay, so the next thing we're doing here is just grabbing the brush tool, and then I'm going to reset this brush tool and just add a little bit of clarity into the eyes just to make them pop a little bit more from the scene. You can see with the 85mm that we get really nice sharp images even at f1.4, particularly if our focal point is right in the middle of our image. So just resetting the brush tool here again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of shadow and clarity and a bit of contrast right into the hair. So because the hair was illuminated by the light, we do lose a little bit of contrast and a little bit of color. So just adding that back in with our paintbrush tool makes a big difference to the hair. I'm just going to make it look a little bit more yellow as well. Okay, so just resetting our brush tool again here. The next thing we're going to do is just zoom in a little bit and then reduce the clarity on parts of the skin that we would like to make a little bit more smooth. So I'm just dropping the blacks and exposures all the way down just so I can see exactly where I'm selecting here. There is a masking tool in Photoshop, but I just like to do it this way. I think it's a little bit quicker than using the masking selection. And it's just something that I'm used to. Feel free to use the masking tool if you'd like. So now I'm just pretty much selecting all the parts of the skin that I'd like to make a little bit more smooth. Make sure you don't go too far with this smoothing technique because it is quite a rough technique, but because we're trying to get this editing done in about 5 minutes, the same amount of time that we did for the photo shoot, this is a great way just to smooth skin quickly and easily. Alright, so now we're going to just reduce the blues and also maybe the greens just a little bit, just so the image looks even more yellow in comparison. So that's everything we're going to do in Camera Raw. Actually, one more thing before we leave Camera Raw is just add a little bit more brightness and yellowness to the background of this image. Because you can see this is like a golden light kind of portrait, we can even make it look more bright and more yellow by adding a little bit more exposure with the brush tool and then changing the color of that exposure to yellow. Okay, so now we're jumping into native Photoshop. And the first thing I really want to do with this image is fix the cropping and composition, because when I shot this, I did shoot it at a little bit of an angle, which I think is a shame because we really always want to get our horizon straight in portraits. You can also do a thing called a Dutch angle, which is where you shoot at 45 degrees, but I think in this situation, having a perfectly straight horizon will look the best. So now you can see here we have a few black lines, which is basically where the image has been cut off and is out of bounds of the image. So basically we're just going to select those areas, and then in this way, first of all, we're going to do a content aware deletion, which is basically where we press the delete key while our layer is locked, and then Photoshop is basically going to work out what it thinks should be there and it will fill in the gaps. Now, in the ideal world, we wouldn't do this, we would have composed it correctly, but because we're doing a quick 5-minute photo shoot, this is a nice little hack you can use to get more detail back into your image where there wasn't detail before. So I think actually even this isn't quite straight enough, so we're going to bend it just a little bit more, and then I'm going to show you another technique that you can use just to fill in the areas that are out of bounds on the image when you're doing this cropping technique. So we're going to get first of all, we're going to get the square selection tool here and drag a whole bunch of the image and then go free transform and then distort and just pull up the part of the image that we've selected beyond those parts of the black parts of the image that were out of bounds. So this works really well in certain situations, but here it doesn't work very well because we'd have to distort Laura's leg here to pull that image over the black areas. So a content-aware deletion is a better choice for those situations, but if you're in a situation where there's a lot of very similar looking image that you can stretch a little bit without it looking strange, then the distortion technique, in my opinion, is a little bit better, because sometimes the content-aware deletion tool isn't that accurate and it can sometimes duplicate parts of the image that you wouldn't want to be duplicated. So you can use either of these situations, either of these techniques in different situations. It's really just up to you. So for example, in this situation, I think that a content-aware deletion would look better than distorting the image to remove those black areas. So I kind of messed up this selection a little bit, to be honest. So when I did the deletion, it left a little bit of a line of black in the photo. So we're just going to do that one more time and just get rid of that little black line that's in the tree. Okay, so that's everything for that. Now what we're going to do is just get rid of that lasso tool. And the next thing we want to do is just make the hair a little bit more fuller and thicker. But before we do that, let's just go through the skin and remove any little blemish that we see with the patch tool. So the way that the patch tool works is you just circle an area that you would like to delete, and then you can drag that selection you've made into an area that is smoother and has the texture that you like. Okay, so now let's jump into liquify, and basically we're just going to pull the hair a little bit, distorting it slightly, but also making it look thicker and fuller. And I think that with any portrait, particularly with people that have really long hair, this is going to make them look way more aesthetically pleasing, because it's going to make the hair look much fuller, much thicker, and much more healthy. So that is everything for this photo. I really hope you like it. Let me know what you think of the final result, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys can do with your 5-minute photography challenges too. So if you got this far in the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that bell as well, so you don't miss out on any content that I'm releasing in the future, because I'm releasing a lot of new content this week and next week hopefully as well. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.